Welcome, my name is Maria Kondzielska and this is Poland Daily Culture. We continue with our story of a British man, actually half British, half Polish, looking for his Polish roots and ending up in Warsaw. Richard Berkeley is with us. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And it seems like you have really a lot of crazy stories, persuading your father at the very end of his life, as I understand, of actually sharing his story with you and telling who you are and what your roots are and origins. That's pretty remarkable altogether. But in fact, you eventually made the step and you came to Poland. It was it already a free Poland, like after the period of time?
Yes, this was 1998.
1998. But it was still not that bad.
It was still like going back in time because you probably don't remember, you're too young. But it was very the streets were very dimly lit and there weren't many cars in the streets, and it was very interesting. I was teaching in London at one of the big drama academies. So I went to the Akademia Teatralna and offered to come and teach there. And they said, please do. And so I started teaching music theatre. And I would fly back and forth. And then I was introduced to people at the Music Academy, the Chopin Academy. I was asked to go and teach there. And
So you're actually a musician, which we didn't tell.
I'm a singer, basically.
You're a singer, okay.
A countertenor, but I sort of also did a lot of work in music theatre. And then I met Stefan Sutkowski, the great man who founded and ran the Opera Kameralna, one of Poland's great secrets at that point. And he asked me to go and sing there. And I thought, well, if I got all these sort of interests here, I may as well come and live here. Now, the thing was that nobody was really offering to pay me very much. So they were very pleased to have my skills, and I was very pleased to give them, but I wasn't going to live from it. And I was extraordinarily lucky to meet a woman who was involved with corporate coaching, who was really actually teaching people to speak in public, to make presentations and so forth. And this seemed like, child's play, really, because this is what we learned at school. That provided income, which allowed me then to, at the invitation of some students from the Music Academy, start a foundation called the Nowa Orchestra Kameralna. We have an orchestra called the Warsaw Kamerata, we have a choir, the Chor Warszawski, and lots of music educational stuff that we do. We brought great musicians, mostly from Britain, I have to say, to play with the orchestra. And that was really very interesting for me because the way of working was extraordinarily different from in Britain. Attitude of most of the students I came across was that they really wanted to get out of Poland and go somewhere else.
Why?
I can't imagine why. Well, I was very lucky because I was also asked in my first year here to work for Pegas, which was the Telewizja Polska culture program, historic program. And so I got to know, all the people that mattered, particularly in music, Waldemar Dąbrowski and Staś Leszczyński and all these sort of people who were really struggling hard to lift the standards of public art. And I think, looking back over 20 years, I think they've succeeded. You have Chopin i Jego Europa, which is this great music festival, where I have to say it's quite interesting because Fabio Biondi, who's a very, very old friend of mine from when I was living in Rome, he comes here very often with his Europa Galante to play. In fact, we were working together even before Europa Galante. Orchestra of the 18th century, all these sorts of orchestras that come here now, which never did in the past. It's rather like one's past catching up with one, because one sees so many friends, particularly from Italy, one wouldn't see were it not for the fact they come here to play, but whom I've known for 40 years.
That's funny. So actually, right now you say that Poland right now opens back again to the world standard of music and singing.
I think it's going that way. I think one of the problems is the institutionalization of music, the music schools, which are a catastrophe, frankly, because the idea that you have to go to a specialist school in order to learn music is nonsense. Music should be in school, in every school, and every child. Why do you want to play the trumpet? Because you hear your friend playing the trumpet. Why do you want to play the violin? Because, you saw your friends playing the violin, not because your parents shunted you off to a music school.
Well, absolutely. It's like most of us in the Polish education, we don't have much to do with music.
No, it's an absolute disaster because, you see, it's through music and theatre, the creative arts, that people learn the self-confidence to follow their own imaginations, you know, to live in the imagination. And in fact, one of the problems that Poland has is this sort of lack of empathy. This was something that the World Bank brought up in its 2019 report on Poland, that the lack of empathy is the biggest obstacle to Polish economic development. And where do you learn empathy? You learn empathy by working with other people, through working with other people.
Okay, so you mean the social contact? Or?
Yeah, by sharing ideas, being criticised, you know, learning to work in a team. Musicians do that all the time. Actors do that all the time. You know, even sports encourages empathy.
Well, it's always in a group. You have
always in a group. You have to think of the other person. That's why music education is something that we've been pioneering to some extent for the last 20 years, is simply so important for society. And in fact, one of the projects we want to work on now is to try to get Ukrainian refugee children and Polish children to work together through music, because, you know, as you know, a lot of schools have been given classrooms to refugee children, but the Polish children know there are refugees in the school, but they don't actually meet them. And so there's no common ground. And so music, which doesn't need language, is a great way of actually building this society, this network, this sense of, you know, trust and understanding.
Well, that's of course an invitation for all of you. If you're Polish and you have children, then teach them some music and give them an experience, actually at least to try it, at least to see it, or maybe drama art. As you can see here, Richard is very strongly recommending this, and I'm sure it actually broadens your horizons, and maybe this is something which we actually can learn from Britain. And thank you all of you for watching Poland Daily Culture.